for those of you who've been paying attention, the big story, the big thing that's happening right now. No, it's not the solar eclipse, even though that's all news seems to want to talk about right now.
I swear to God, I'm like so out of the loop on that.
No, the big news is that Israel invaded Rafah. So they did it. And now you're going to see a little bit of footage, and we're going to talk about it.
Like, I don't know what the rules are.
Well, whatever the rules are, we're going to find out. But the bottom line is,
that's not good.
Any of these so-called threats, any of these so-called, hand-wringing, it doesn't change the fact that billions upon billions upon billions of dollars in weaponry, resources, and so forth. It's nice if you're opening up the floodgates, so to speak, in order for people to bring humanitarian aid that, of course, as we learned, was just being blocked from day one.
And do you know, and I recently heard this, for anybody who doesn't watch the Electronic Intifada, I strongly recommend watching it's the Electronic Intifada. And Ali Abu Nima is one of the journalists. There's a few of them, and Nora Barris Friedman. I don't know. I'm not great with names, but they're amazing. And I found out on that they have been charging people. Egypt has been charging people $10,000 per person to be able to let them out. So these families who have nothing are scrounging, and only certain people are like able to get out because they don't have that. So, Egypt is not helping. Egypt is definitely going with Team Israel on this. And it's very disturbing. The whole thing is just like, so when people ask, why don't the other Arab nations help? Yeah, this is why they're in with us.
And then they're going to put the specter over everyone's head about Iran and what they're going to do or not going to do. And all the while, innocent women, children, men, women, and children are going to be killed just as they were last night.
Again, I don't see how we're getting,
So what's the point? Listen, yes, humanitarian aid should be brought into Gaza, but nothing changes until the occupation ends.
Well, right. So, I think they don't realize that now. To me, when I go to things, even at the rally we were at, and everybody's like, what do we want? Ceasefire. And I know that that's a good rallying cry for ceasefire. But I've objected to that term the entire time because it implies there's a war, and this is not a war. It's a genocide, right? So we don't need to ask for a ceasefire, right? That's a little bit, paltry. So I think that we're in a situation now where, how are we not recognizing how absurd it is that we're simultaneously sending weapons and aid? I know that it's memes. I get it. Like, we've seen memes of that, but it really is just, it's absurd to me. Yeah. So if anybody thinks that they should be getting any sort of credit for sending in aid to a massacre that they funded and supported, no, that's not how this works. That there's no redemption for that. Like, this is not how that works.
We're going to bring in our guest, Dr. Shiva, in just a minute. But, it serves to reason, and this whole concept that it's a war, it's not a war. This is a massacre of the highest order.
Right. So that's why I hate the term ceasefire. And I get it. Demanding it, because you wouldn't say, you can't fit the entire thing you want to say in a very catchy phrase like ceasefire. But the reality is ceasefire implicates a war.
I think it's a good point when you say, do you think all Americans are not too smart or just racist or just lying? What I think ends up happening more often than not is that there's a couple of ways to look at this. It's kind of like with our congressperson. When people ask, like, how do you become such a mouthpiece for such a horrific circumstance? And the truth is that when you are so corporate captured, when the worst case scenario presents itself, There is no deviating from the status quo, because that's what you're paid to do. And if you don't follow through as you are paid to do, then you basically just become a dustbin for history. They'll find somebody else who will step up and will take that money, that ill-gotten corporate special interest money, regardless of where it comes from, for that specific issue, and they will parrot that narrative. Full stop. That's the career that they wanted and that they signed up for. It's very difficult to break through for those that are not willing to fight against this very system that, when you look at it logistically and logically at this point, does seem like it is breaking at the seams.
Oh yeah, no.
Because there's no way
it's in the death throes. We're in death throes. You can't
justify what's going on at this point anymore. It's just too obvious. The idea that you think you're going to fool people with this, oh, now we're able to get the humanitarian aid in. Remember, our Congresswoman just a day ago was out there saying specifically that it was Hamas that was blocking the aid from getting in.
YouTube rejected my comment. YouTube wouldn't print my comment, but Facebook would. That's interesting.
Okay.
And
well,
they don't like genocide. The word. Yeah, they don't like that word. Okay. So we'll just reprint it and take out that word, because I want to explain what I meant when I was calling out the government of Egypt, which has nothing to do with Egyptian people.
You want to make a comment real quick? And
So what I was saying is this. What I'm saying is that leadership in that country, in Egypt, is also complicit with the genocide. They're okay with that happening. They apparently are okay with that happening. That's what I'm saying. So whatever that may be. Now, the people of Egypt, that's not the case. Like that, I don't think at all. I am simply saying, and again, this is from, please go watch Ali Abunimah. He explains it infinitely better than I do on the electronic intifada, but this was the gist of it.
Well, we're not allowed to comment at all. Let's see if we could do anything.
Anyway,
help me help you.
Are we just being blocked?
Can we?
Okay.
That worked. All right. So I don't know. Maybe the word Egypt or something.
Yeah, they don't want us. Yeah, Egypt might be being blocked. But anyway, so
no, that's
whatever. But that is what's happening. My point is that they just don't care about.
And and before we bring in Dr. Shiva, just remember this one last point.
Yeah.
Do not underestimate how wretched and destructive tribalism can be in the worst case scenarios. There are people who literally look at what this administration is allowing to happen to the Palestinian people, and their knee-jerk reaction is to say, but Trump. There is somebody well, I wouldn't even say independent media, but somebody in media who wanted to interview Jen, and that interview is not going to happen now, because that person thinks that despite everything, that you still need to go out and support the president without any concessions, nothing. Just keep it exactly the way that it is.
Well, it's not that, I don't think it's that he wouldn't interview me. I told you I don't.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't need to be harassed about that.
And it doesn't serve any ends, because the truth is, if we're already spiraling out of control, then you need to rip off the Band-Aid. You cannot continue to do this.